I'm like not even joking. This is like one of the best events I think I've ever seen in my entire life. The 10th anniversary is going absolutely crazy right now. All 120 Hall of Heroes from across all 10 years of Summoners War's history are coming back. And from March 11th all the way through August 25th, you'll be able to choose one of 5 weekly. And you'll get additional rewards along the way too. So that's why today I'm going to be talking about the top 10 Hall of Heroes throughout Summoners War history. And we're going to do one set for Elemental and one for LDs. So a total of 20. It's going to be a big video, so lock in. Let's do this. We're going to start with the Elementals. And big disclaimer right out the gate here. Generally speaking, it is better to take the LDs. Like, for realsies though, as a rule of thumb, if you don't have the Light and Dark 4-star for that week, you should probably get it. You're less likely to encounter them out in the wild. This list is not necessarily what monster you should take each week. Rather, it's just talking about the top 10 monsters that have been featured in Hall of Heroes. Number 10 is Draco, who is the first 4-star that I ever summoned, but I still haven't awakened him. He's great for cleave comps. He's an attack bar booster who gives immunity and speed, plus one other buff for your trouble. Oh, I also have a note here that says, or Water Lich. I guess I couldn't decide which monster to put here. So without giving him a number, I'll just say that the Water Lich is basically a farmable Meiho Wang. He's good. We saw him at SWC, actually. He's a solid monster. He doesn't get a number, apparently, but that's not really his fault. That's more my fault, because I didn't reread my script. Number 9 is Carcano, the Fire Sniper. Carcano saw a lot of use in guilds, and he still has some use there today. Every turn he tries to apply a defense break to the monster with the lowest HP ratio. So that means that in most cases, he's his own setup. He's also seen some use in the Dimensional Raid because his skill 1 ignores damage reduction effects. And that's actually kind of hard to come by. Next is Tetra, the Water Mermaid. Tetra is a great counter to things like Gianna, or anytime there's a lot of debuffs in play. I feel like or is like probably that's the word that I say that has kind of got that or sound like a sea lion. Or. Don't put that in. Every turn, Tetra is going to do what I like to call a soft cleanse, which is reducing the number of turns that are on debuff effects. Granted, this doesn't apply to inability effects, but most of the time it won't have to be usable. And she heals. That's pretty sick. A lot of the mermaids are actually really good, and they are valuable skill ups too. Speaking of soft cleanse, Mi Yang the Water Sky Dancer is our next monster. She is a hybrid support and damage dealing monster. I like to call her a free-to-play Yanhong, and it's kind of true. After a recent balance patch, she now auto crits on skill 2, so you can kind of load her up with crit damage and also have a good support unit on the side. Number 6 is Cichlid the Wind Mermaid. She was actually featured on 5 Nat 4s that should see more play, and for really good reason, to be honest. Her skill 3 is going to try to put somebody on cooldown, but it also strips away the buffs that they have on them and leaves a defense break in place. Like, what a great skill. Again, dude, the mermaids have just crazy value on their kits. Next on our list is Abigail, the Water Cannon Girl. If you've been around on the channel for a little while now, you know where I like to use Abigail. It's Necro Abyss. I like to use her in Necro Abyss. Her second skill hits 8 times, which is conveniently 1 more than you need to break the boss's shield. And that last one can defense break. So that means that you can make the boss vulnerable and then apply the defense break to set up your damage dealers. I'm not going to give her a number on the L&D list, but you can also technically use the Light Cannon Girl here. Specifically not the awakened version of the monster, because ideally you'd like her to prioritize using that skill 2 over the 3rd skill she gets when she awakens. Next up, we got Maruna, who's the Fire Boomerang Warrior. Twins in general are going to be very valuable, just because if you happen to have one piece of the combo and you don't have a facilitator for it, you can pick one up. Maruna is all about crowd control. She likes to stun, AoE. She does that a lot, actually. So if you need something like this for TOA, you could do that. She and Shina also have a figure on the Come To Us store. Wow, look at that product placement I just did. Number 3 is Chilling, the Water Jack-o'-lantern. Chilling is here because, gosh dang it, he earned his spot. How many times have you needed someone to just steal the invincibility off the Dark Phantom Thieves in TOA or take the immunity off the dragon? I think we can all safely say that Chilling has helped us out in our time of need when we were most desperate, and that's why he's number 3. I almost put him lower on the list because the dude has a tendency to use his skill 2 when I need him to use skill 1, but honestly, forgive and don't forget. People really also like to use him with El Sharion in RTA. Notably, he's also a great skill up for Windy and other Jack-o'-lanterns. Let's keep moving on. Talia, the Water Chakram Dancer, who can pair up with Maruna if you're so inclined. I really think this recent Hall of Heroes is pretty significant. Talia deals crazy damage. She's great in the Rift Beasts, etc. You can also use her in Necro or wherever you're inclined to use your twins. I've made this joke on the channel before, but Talia deals so much damage that she ignores the mechanic of the light Rift Beast. That's why she makes the list. And also, she completes the combo, like we talked about. It's important to have a Chakram Dancer to your Boomerang Warrior. Okay, I just want to touch on a couple honorable mentions before we get to number 1. First of all, we got Ager and Clara, who have guild pieces available. Oh wait, I think Tetra does too, actually. Oh my god, Ager has kind of fallen out of the spotlight. Ager had a brief moment in RTA. The moment might have lasted actually too long. God, 2019 was wild. Do you guys remember when Fran could stun on skill 1? Wow, those were the days. Also, Suiki and Liesel are both really good monsters, but they're fusible. The last honorable mention is Antares the Fire Lich, because he's really cool. He didn't get a number, mostly because I just needed to cut it down to 10, if I'm being totally honest, and he predominantly operates on RNG. Antares is either, like, the best monster in the game if he's proccing a lot, or he's the worst. It's one or the other. It's never the middle. You either win a game because of Antares, or you lose and it was his fault. That's Antares. Number 1 is Aster, Lapis's spicy sister, and I think I'm putting her here predominantly because of a recency bias, if I'm being totally honest. But she does great damage, she's easy to rune, and she's usable in a lot of relevant dungeons right now, such as Necro as well as the Spiritual Realm. She pairs really well with Shaman in Necro too. Honestly, having big damage where the only requirement is that the target have more HP than you is pretty good. Now let's move on to the LDs. Number 10, Chammy the Light Nine-Tailed Fox. Chammy is one of those units that I think gets a little bit slept on. She does have use in other content. I've seen people use her in guilds. If you've seen the Guild Siege tournament interviews, you know that there's been a song made about Chammy.
Chammy, it is what we live for.
But she's also really good for raids. She offers 2 incredibly valuable debuffs on her first skill in Brand and Heal Block. Plus, she has a cleanse on skill 3 for herself. And it's important that it's a skill 3 because that means when the boss oblivions her, she can still use it. Number 9 is Arya the Light Succubus, who is basically a farmable Hathor for all intents and purposes. There are actually quite a few LD Nat 4s that function like a farmable Hathor. Like Ashubel, the Dark Sylph, is also kind of a farmable Hathor. So if you really like crowd control and you need follow-up, or heck, you just want a pairing for Ganymede that isn't Hathor, you can find it in the Light Succubus. Or I guess Ashubel, but I'm going to put the Light Succubus here. Number 8, we got Amduat. Amduat has turn cycling and strip baked into his passive. Every time an opponent ends their turn, he's going to gain a quarter of his attack bar. So he's going to be getting a lot more turns than the average bear, which is pretty fun. At number 7, I'm kind of cheating because I'm going to be putting 2 units on this slot, Varisa and Gemini. And I'm doing this because they both allow for an AoE strip. The 2 are both great and they offer different benefits. For instance, Gemini's got that backup speed lead and he also provides a defense break on skill 2. While Varisa is going to try to apply attack break and glancing, so that way when the clapback comes, you're pretty much protected. 6, Lucas the Light Neostone Agent. This guy is insane in rifts. He has damage that increases like crazy, and he provides a shield for himself. And the damage scales on the shield. There was also a point in time where Lucas had a bug where his power would just stack exponentially, and so he would be dealing this crazy, ungodly amount of damage to the Rift Beasts. Him, Mephisto, and the twins, man, they all had those fun game-breaking bugs. Gotta love it. Next is Isabel the Dark Assassin, who just does crazy damage. Like so much damage that she makes it on the list just for the damage. First of all, she sets herself up with her skill 2 when she applies an attack buff and a crit rate buff. Then the snipe on skill 3 becomes reusable if she kills with it. Super cool snipe unit. Very fun to use. Next up is Deva, the Light Chakram Dancer. She provides max HP damage scaling on one of the twins, and that's become even more important ever since the advent of the new Abyss dungeons. And it should be noted that if you happen to have a Martina, you can use her and Deva for a bit of a cheat code in Dragon's Abyss. That's what I use. It's not the fastest, but boy is it reliable. Before I move on, I should note though that Isabel and Deva are on the same week. So again, I want to reiterate, this is more of a list of the top 10 best Hall of Heroes. It's not necessarily saying which one you want to take. So it's going to be a tough choice that week, but you know what? You know what you need. If you need snipe, go Isabel. If you want something for dungeons to facilitate your twins, you can do Deva. Dia is the Dark Death Knight, who's been getting a lot of attention in RTA recently, and that's mostly because his passive can hinder predominantly light comps. But in general, I'd say that this guy has earned his place on this list. For ages, Diaz has been an auto-include in starter raid teams. He has an effect that reduces damage on a passive, and he has a resistance lead. Those are both very valuable effects for raids. And then you add the recent attention that he's been getting in RTA on top of that, and I think this is a perfect place for him on the list. Next, it's Hall of Heroes Vivachel, Talasha, the Dark Undyne. Talasha got a buff recently that made it so she is now the perfect pairing for Leo and or Ragdoll. First of all, it can be used to revive an ally, and then it'll give them a turn instantly. So we're already off to a strong start. But if you happen to use it on a living ally, it's going to reduce their HP by 70%, which is a very important percentage, by the way, because that puts them within torrent range. And then it grants them life drain. So you don't even necessarily need to ruin your Leo or Ragdoll on Vampire to get their HP back. Then you just ignore defense torrent somebody, and that's it. Plus, she pairs well with things like Shizuka and anything that can kind of refresh cooldown times or revive units themselves. Oops, I have 2 number 1s. So let me just put honorable mentions here. Jin the Light Ninja is our first honorable mention. He has a light speed lead, which is great for guilds. It'll beef up your Ashir, your Kabilas, etc. Next is Pang. She got some attention when the artifact dungeons were introduced, and she can extend debuffs through her passive. She doesn't see as much play nowadays in PvE, but I actually think that there could be some opportunities for you to incorporate her onto your dungeon teams. Okay, Fanaka, the Light Gargoyle, is kind of sick though. Like, he's actually really cool, but he doesn't get a number on the list. Because I'm mostly talking about units that have a more profound impact on the game around them, and Fanaka is really cool, but in a niche environment. His passive says that whenever he's in statue form and he's attacked, he's going to increase the cooldown time of the attacker by 2 turns. And they can increase beyond their maximum. The reason why that's so dope, though, is that he also has Provoke on skill 2, so they have to attack him. And I did just want to say Guillaume, the Dark Phantom Thief, can be super annoying on defense. But we all know how annoying the Dark Phantom Thieves can be. We fight them once a month in Trial of Ascension. Okay, apparently I had 2 number 1s. I should have reviewed the script. Sue me. No, don't. She has Strip, Turn Cycling, Control. Wait, did I actually say who it is? I guess I did. Our first number 1 is Lu Mei, the Light Kung Fu Girl. She has Strip, Crowd Control, Attack Bar Absorption. This unit is awesome, and she's been great in Siege. And this is a great way for people to get more than 1 Lu Mei too, so that way you can have multiples available for when it comes time to fight. And our other number 1 is Luna, the Dark Puree. She has huge max HP damage scaling on skill 3, which means she's great for dungeons, but what makes her even better is that she has perfect AI, because her skill has an additional effect as long as she's at max HP. So if she hasn't lost any health yet, she's going to default to using that 3rd skill. And that's why she deserves a number 1 slot. So there we go. Those are the top 10 Hall of Heroes for Elemental and LD units in all of Summoners War history. If you want help choosing specific monsters week to week, be sure to check out your favorite content creators. And heck, we stream. If you want to come by and ask me questions personally, I'd love to help you choose a Hall of Heroes for the week. That's it for today, everybody. Have a great one. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.